Okay, well, look, let's kick off, guys. Just a bit of housekeeping before we kick off officially. We're using Zoom today. We'd love to take your questions as we go through. You can see there's a Q&A chat box. That's the best place to put your questions. If we can, we'll answer them as we go by text. Otherwise, we'll save them up to the end where there'll be time for Q&A. And if at the end you have questions, additional questions that you haven't asked, please just note them down then and we'll do our best to answer them. So introductions, my name is Charles Clark. I'm Marketing Director of BOMA and thrilled to be joined tonight by Natalie Edie, General Manager of The Gap. Hi, Nat.
Hi, great to be here.
So we'll keep it rolling fairly quickly through because we've got 45 minutes and we will be covering the following elements, including a bit of pre-work that you all very kindly participated in. In terms of the recording, we'll be sending that out tomorrow. So if you can't stay for the full amount of time or you get interrupted, don't worry, we'll send you out the recording tomorrow. So if you haven't heard of us, and there might be some of you who are Gappies or BOMA users and haven't heard of maybe the other company. So BOMA is basically a powerful digital marketing platform designed for accountants, and The Gap is an amazing business development system, also again designed for accountants. So with The Gap content in combination with BOMA's digital marketing tool, it's a really unique way for you to enhance your client relationships, drive growth, and also maximize efficiency. And today we're going to be showing you, I suppose, how to do that using the content from The Gap and BOMA and how that can be leveraged to launch and drive your advisory services. So just again, thank you so much for filling in the pre-work questions. What we've done is just taken all the answers you gave and collated them really quickly into a few graphs just to give some insight. It's quite useful just to give you, I suppose, a sense of how you compare to some of your peers in the industry. It's quite nice to sort of benchmark where you might be. And also, I think it's quite useful to set the scene as we move further into this webinar. So the first one we talked about was how many social posts are you posting each week? And this is to mostly to your business channels, if you have them. So really great to see that over 50% of you are posting at least once to twice per week, and a significant proportion of you, over 20%, are really consistent. So you're posting upwards of 3 times per week, which is really great to see. And that's across a multiple of different platforms as well. So I was just counting, if you said that you posted the same post over a couple of different platforms, I would just count that as one. So that was great to see. The interesting thing for me in this graph or pie chart was that there's about 28% of you who said that you weren't posting at all. And look, I know it can be difficult to find the time or to know what to say with social. And I know it's a new medium to get comfortable with, but it really is a big opportunity for you, and perhaps a bit of a wake-up call when you see how many people are posting to social. Social media is where a lot of your clients are active. They may be active personally or they may be active in their business. So it's a great place for you to engage with them because they're already engaging with a lot of other companies and brands out there. So it's something they're really used to doing, and they really like seeing information from companies they trust and follow. So really can't recommend enough getting involved if you have the time. Then we moved on to EDMs, and I realized when I went through the sponsors that, again, some of you weren't sure what EDM stands for, and it's electronic direct mail, which in essence is just an email campaign. So this isn't the emails that you send out to your clients in terms of client-based ones. These are sort of more marketing or nurture or education-based. So if you have a look at the graph, where does your firm fit in? Are you in the group of 37% who aren't doing any, or are you in one of the groups of the remaining 63% who are? Again, I think it's really like social. If you're not active in your email campaigns, you're missing a golden opportunity to nurture and educate your clients and prospects. And I think it's also, you can see here that well over half, nearly 2/3 are doing this. I think something to just take away from this slide is if you're not educating your clients and prospects, someone else might be. So just something to think about. But we know that it does take time to write emails. We know it takes time to write social posts. And so we asked the question of how much time is your firm spending writing the content each month? And no surprise that around 29% aren't spending any. That kind of reflects what we saw in terms of the email usage and the social usage. But everyone is spending, well, the majority, nearly 70%, are spending a fairly significant time. You can see there that, for 20% of you are spending actually over 6 hours a month. Some of you are also outsourcing this entirely. And there were a few people who also outsourced this within their own firm. So they had a special marketing person, or they had an administrator who was doing it for them. Interesting to see that a few of you didn't know, and that's fine. You might be in a larger firm and someone else is doing this for you. So completely understandable that you may not be across how much time it is. And lastly, we asked you what your challenges are, and thank you very much for being so open, because this is something, it's quite vulnerable to be open about challenges that we're facing, and some core themes came through. And the biggest one here was really about time. So having the time to do it, finding the time to write and create content whilst also running your firm and providing compliance services was a common one. When we looked at content, it was, what do I write? Ideas that I can talk to my clients about that they're not going to find uninteresting or boring. How do I be engaging and relevant? Also, some of you were just starting out, so you knew that you needed to do this, but you were at the beginning of your sort of marketing education journey, which was great to see. One theme that did come across a little bit as well was a confidence. And one person said that they lack the confidence in their delivery. I think that can be quite a common theme when sort of starting to sell your advisory. And there's just a couple of other quotes I'll run through because they really do set the scene. And so one person said, it's, my challenge is conveying what we can actually do for them. And another said, having my clients see the value, especially when they're hesitant to pay. And then another said, communicating to our clients that we now offer these services. Followed up by looking like we're not selling. So all really common themes. And I think what we're going to be able to do here today is give you a process and a mechanism which is going to enable you to overcome some of those challenges and do it in a way that doesn't take a lot of time. And also you're going to feel good and sort of not stressed about doing, because all the work is sort of done for you between GAP and BOMA.
Awesome. Thanks, Charles. That's really positive, actually, and really interesting. And it's great to see that there is such a big opportunity for some firms to start dedicating a small amount of time to their digital marketing to get some great wins. So yeah, the aim of marketing, and some of those fears came through and reflected this, is actually to reduce the need for selling. And education marketing is one of the best ways to do this, because it is much more subtle, perhaps, than really pushing the services that you offer. It's also really SEO friendly because of that, and it helps you drive traffic to your website, resulting in more subscribers or leads who you can continue to nurture repetitively with your consistent, constant marketing. Education marketing can be quite general. And education marketing is sometimes called content marketing. It's kind of a similar thing. So it's quite general, and it's really about informing your clients about a topic not directly related to your service offering in a way that positions you as an expert to build credibility and trust, so that when you eventually have that conversation with your client about your service, it's much more natural. Education marketing is really more effective because of 3 reasons. A, it demonstrates your support and empathy for your customers. B, it enables you to grow your following easily, because people can take that valuable education, they can share it with their friends and family to get you exposure. But thirdly, it's about focusing on giving value before extracting it, and people find that very genuine. So the main thing I want to say about content marketing is you can have all the content in the world, whether it's from BOMA or somewhere else, but there's no point pushing it out, blasting it out across your channels if it's not carefully reflecting your overall objectives. So before we start any kind of marketing, we need to be clear on what we want to achieve. and what services we do want to market and deliver, and then reverse engineer our marketing plan around those services so that eventually, after a few rounds of marketing, we can hopefully compel some of our audience to act. And that may be to comment on a social post, to reply to an email, or maybe attend one of our webinars. So let's think about planning, and if time is an issue, then obviously the more time we spend planning, the better the result's going to be. So we need to have a strategic discussion in our firms first around what services we actually want to drive. Are we looking for high growth, or are we looking to push in a specific advisory service, such as business planning or accountability coaching? And how are we going to take those goals and kind of build our marketing planning frameworks around those goals so we can deliver on those? So let's look at what that process might look like in your firm. And I would say it will start with some kind of annual business plan where you get alignment amongst people in your team around the services that you are going to push. And these are then going to be built into your annual goals. We then take those annual goals and we actually build out some campaigns that we know are going to help deliver those goals, and think about the channels that we're going to activate to support that. And then we need to make sure we go right down to the detail of the daily, weekly posts and activities, the things we're going to do. And that might be your admin or your marketing support person doing that work, but actually giving them clarity over how regularly we expect them to deliver across the channels to really softly push the message and get it out there to your audience that this is what you want to offer. So with that in mind, I'm going to quickly go jumped ahead again. I'm going to quickly go to a wee plan that I've got here, which is actually a resource that we will provide you after the webinar. So this is really looking at what kind of planning we should be undertaking to launch a new advisory service and how we can give ourselves the best chance. So this is kind of like a quarterly plan. And the first step is actually all about defining what our service actually is, because if we want a clear message, we need to be really clear on what it is we're selling first. So this here, I've just copied and pasted it directly out of our business planning bridge. We've obviously got a lot of content in our platform around delivering specific advisory services, but it's important we make sure we're all aligned on what it is. In this instance, it's a 4-hour planning session, documenting all of these things that form the business plan. And there's going to be some pre-work before that to help the client go deeper and do the heavy lifting before the session. And then the outcome of that will be a 1-page business plan to guide them, as a bit of a roadmap. Then we've got to think about that what's in it for me language, and how we take what the service is and turn it into benefits that we can easily articulate to our clients, so they see the value in having a go at you facilitating their business plan for them, for example. So these bullets here, again, I've just dragged them directly from our business planning bridge as an example, but you can do whatever you want there. But it's about having clear benefits for your clients so that you can articulate that in your marketing messages. And most of these they really form around those 3 freedoms: time, mind, and financial freedom. And we know that that's what our clients are seeking. So yeah, then we've got to look at what our actual goals are for delivering that service. And this may be more clear in your business plan, but thinking about what we're actually trying to achieve. So maybe we want to get 2 of our existing clients to uptake our annual business planning service each month. And if we're charging whatever we're charging, then that will convert over 3 months to a certain amount that will be annualized revenue. Then it might be about converting 1 prospect to that same service and also getting their compliance work. And we might have something in there around how many leads we want to attract so that we can market to those in future. Then we've got our target market. Pretty simple in this instance. We want to target existing and prospective business clients. Thinking about how we succinctly define what the service is and then our promotion strategy. So in this case, I definitely recommend looking at your local business network, sending some of those EDMs, making sure your website's speaking the same message, your blog, activating your social channels, and also delivering some webinars to position the service as well. So once you've defined what your advisory service is, it's going to be much easier to go through the various content you have at your disposal and actually pick the pieces that are most relevant for what you want to achieve. So the next phase in this kind of plan is really about marketing the service. And I've split this into 3 months. So month 1 is all about internal marketing and a soft launch. So before we go and actually take that marketing message out to our client base, we need to be really sure our team are fully on board. They know why we're doing it, they know what we're offering, they know how it's priced, and they know where we want to market it so that they could really support those marketing efforts. And then it might be about testing this new service on a handful of good clients. So you might go through and handpick 10 or 20 clients who you're going to call up personally and say, hey, openly and honestly, I'm launching a new service. I'd love to try it on you because I think you'd really benefit from it. And also I know you're going to give me some great feedback, which will help me improve that. And then it's about making sure that that service is clearly reflected on your website's homepage and in your services tab. And then thinking about other ways you can draw attention to that new service, like updating your email signatures with a link to that service in your website. And then you might use BOMA content or GAP content or your own content or a combination of all 3 to produce a blog that speaks to the benefits of planning, for example, in this instance, and really using those what's in it for me principles. So those speaking in the benefits that are going to get the client interested. And then making sure you draw attention to that blog with your various social channels. So actually sending links from your social accounts to the blog to get people to engage with that. And then looking at other content you have around to start to build awareness around, I guess, your expertise and what you can offer in this space so that when you come and offer a webinar or when you send a marketing EDM out that speaks directly to your service, it's not a surprise and people go, oh yeah, they look like they're well placed to deliver that. So then I would recommend if you're looking at handpicking some clients to touch the low-hanging fruit and get some confidence and experience under your belt with a new service, that you follow them up via phone call, gauge their interest, and then send an outline and benefits document of the service, and then set a reminder to call them again to hopefully get them to sign up so you can send them a proposal. Now, I'm not going to go through all of the detail in this. This is an example of what you could do for business planning, which could be very easily adapted for any other advisory service you're looking to launch. But month 2 is really about gaining marketing momentum. So building on some of the things you put in place in month 1, and we can't expect that return on investment to come in month 1. With marketing, there's always it's a bit of a slow burn and then it will start to build momentum. But I would say as month 2, it would be great to think about what kind of a webinar you could run that speaks to the service that you're offering so that you can position that service as a solution near the end of the webinar. Once you've given a lot of education and value in the webinar, and people will be inclined to go, oh, that could be good. Actually, maybe I'd like you to do that with me, considering what you've already shown me, which is that you're clearly an expert in this field. So there's lots of things to do to get a webinar up and running, but it's all documented. It's actually really easy. And we publish a lot of webinars in the GAP portal for our members to deliver. In fact, we do 1 a quarter, and we've got all of the planning and kind of admin resources you need so that your team can get up to speed with this process very swiftly. And then month 3 is about running the webinar and actually getting those leads that you've generated to hopefully convert to some services. So we've got everything in here to do days before, the day of, the day after, etc. But what I would say is once a webinar is over, that's when the real fun begins, because there are so many opportunities that come out of the exit survey and the feedback that you get from a webinar. And there are plenty of goodies in the GAP portal that we recommend you actually provide your attendees afterwards as well, to keep them hot and to keep demonstrating your value, and then hopefully they'll be more inclined to come on board in the weeks or months that follow. So right down to the level of detail here, we have an activity overview. So this is the piece that your admin or marketing support team need to be aware of. They need to know how much they're doing across the channels in that 3-month period, and what the kind of rhythms are in your marketing. And hey, this may seem like a lot, but actually the majority of this you can set and forget in chunks in BOMA. So actually there's we're going to show you how to do some of it, but there's a lot that you can nail really swiftly. Now, I'm just going to quickly go to our portal to, I guess, demonstrate the integration between GAP and BOMA, and how it's very useful when it comes to starting on this advisory marketing journey. So right now, if you haven't seen the portal before, I'm in the business planning content hub. And we have a business planning process document which breaks down everything you need to do at every stage of delivering business planning. But and we've got everything to market, sell, and deliver it, right down into the delivery notes and how you actually extract each of the components of the business plan when you're facilitating that session with your client. Also, really detailed digital pre-work for you to flick out via the portal and automatically received back via the portal. But I'm just going to show you today one of the items we have in the marketing subfolder, and that's called the outline and benefits of business planning, which we can click and email directly to our clients from in here if they're interested in our service. But I'm going to demonstrate how to do it via BOMA quickly. So a lot of our marketing resources are set up in BOMA so that when you're going through the advisory process, you can quickly click, get to your BOMA account and deliver a campaign. So in this instance, this is a piece of content that really speaks to that definition of what the service is, and also those benefits and what's in it for me from the client's perspective. So this is kind of a piece of content I would probably send out in a targeted way to clients who have said they're interested in this service. But Charles, I'm really keen for you to show everyone a bit more about some of the other content you have in BOMA, because there's a lot you can do here. So I might hand over to you now.
Great, thanks, Nat. Is my screen coming through?
Great.
So here we are again, also in BOMA, and we're actually in the GAP library. So if you're a GAPy, you get access to the BOMA or the GAP library in BOMA. Now there are tons and tons of articles in here. What Nat showed you was sending sort of a specific email to someone that's shown some interest in business planning. What I'm going to show you here is sending a campaign, so an email and social campaign. And this is also on planning, but it's much less targeted. So it's about getting people interested, warming them up, introducing them to the concept of planning. And what you can see here is the different elements. So we've got the image at the top, we've got some social text in the middle, and then you can see here we've got the content down here. So I'm going to click delivering campaign. You can see here I could choose email, social, or both. For our purposes, I'll choose both. And that is just the title that you see in BOMA, and it's just for your own needs. No one else will see it. So here's the content here. I'm going to do one thing. I'm going to add our huge accounting hashtag. I could obviously edit it further if I wanted to, but I'll click on continue. And now we're going to go through into the channel page, and this will show all my social channels as well as my email channel. And you can see here that that change I made has come through. And if I click on preview, I can see what it would look like in LinkedIn. And you can see here down the left-hand side, I've got LinkedIn Personal, and you might want to, in LinkedIn Personal, even add a little bit more text, because you might want to sort of have, say, a slightly different message in Personal than you do on your normal LinkedIn page. You can see here Twitter, and then lastly Facebook. So Facebook will always appear blank if you're using content from the content library, and that's just because they don't allow, Facebook doesn't allow us to post on your behalf as a third party. So if you just click on this link here, and then that will actually bring in all the text, including the new hashtag that we added, and I can preview it, and there's a social post. Obviously, social is one thing, but let's think about email. So Nat showed you earlier how you could sort of specify who you might want to send it to. So in BOMA, you can select contacts manually. So you might have had a meeting with some people, and then you want to send it to those two people. You could also filter using tags. So these are tags that you set up, and they could be specific to your firm. So they might be related to the industry that your clients are in or your prospects. Maybe they also specify who are clients and who are non-clients. It's really up to you to build out these campaigns and user segmentation. Or you can deliver it to all, which is what we'll do now. The email template is the next step. So here you can see some previous emails I've sent out, and I can use those again if I have a favorite template, maybe for a newsletter or for an update. But most of the time, I'm going to start with this empty template here. And when I say empty, it actually does come with your logo, links to your social pages, your website, your address, and an unsubscribe button. So that's always going to be there. And then you can see on the right-hand side here, we've got different versions of the content. So these short versions are really useful if you're building out a newsletter and you want to take content from other articles in the BOMA content library or other GAP articles, and you can just drag and drop those in. But we want to send them the full article. So all we do is drag and drop it in. You can see it brings in all the text, and it also brings in the image. We'll personalize it by adding a merge tag, and that basically pulls in the first name of each of your contacts. And now as I scroll down, everything in here is editable. So you can edit, change it if you want to. You can make your own comments. You can basically stamp your mark on it and deliver it in the tone that is relevant to both you and your audience. Obviously, we can do a sign-off, so like kind regards, Charles, but let's also not forget to add a call to action button. So really, really important always to be clear about what it is that you want them to do next. Don't just expect them to know that they should get in touch with you. Have a call to action button, and this could be something like a web page. So it could be your contact us page, or maybe it links through to your business planning page on your website where you actually talk about the service in more detail. You can also get it to send an email. So it would be, you would basically put in your email address or some relevant person's email address. The subject would be business planning, and the body would be, please contact me about business planning. And that can just be automated to happen as soon as they click contact us. If you've got clients and prospects who spend a lot of time on their mobile phones, you could also instruct it to make a call or send you a text. So once you're happy with it, it's just a matter of saving and closing, and that'll take us back to the channel page. The last thing we need to do is review the subject line. Now we've written it for you. Again, you can edit that if you want to do it. We've also given you a short description of the email. Again, you can edit that. Send yourself or a colleague a test email just to double check, and then schedule delivery. So when you schedule it, you can schedule it for now, or you can schedule it for a time in the future. So I'll schedule it for a couple of weeks away, and then that campaign is scheduled. Just quickly before we hand back to Nat, so while we have GAP content in the library, which is fantastic for, I suppose, business development, and especially going on to that advisory front, there is a lot of other content in BOMA. You can see we've got categories down the side. And this content is all about supporting and nurturing your clients. So we have content from, obviously, the GAP in here, Xero, BOMA, Walters Kluwer, and some other partners as well. So the important thing here is that it's all unique to the UK, and you can send it out either as an email or a social post, just in addition to maybe other content that you're sending out. You can also do lead capture forms. So this might be your newsletter sign-up form on your website, or it could be a lead capture form that you promote in social and email, which then people sign up to your lead capture form and they get something valuable in return. So again, as Nat was saying, it's that value exchange. You're giving them something valuable, and it might be a report or some insight that you've produced, and in return, they're happy to give you their email address and contact details, which obviously comes into BOMA and enables you to then start that nurturing and engagement process. As Nat said, marketing isn't sort of an instant return unless you're doing maybe Google ads, which are kind of, you switch them on, you switch them off. But once you have the flywheel spun up and once you're starting to reach these people, it does become easier and it becomes less work, especially if you have systems in place like Nat has talked about. And then you will start to see the leads and the inquiries coming through, but you just have to be consistent and persevere. Just the last thing to mention is that obviously you want to check how your campaigns have done. So when you go into BOMA, you can click into any of the campaigns, and this is obviously just a dummy one that we've done, but you can see here we've got all the information, emails as well, who opened it, click-through rates, and when it comes to other social channels, how many people saw it, liked, shared, and engaged with it. So Nat, I'm just conscious of time, so I'll hand back to you.
Great. That's awesome. And one of the things I'm not sure if you spoke about too much is the way that you can send really great or set up really good ad campaigns in BOMA as well, which can be a fantastic tool, especially if you're looking at inviting, you know, coldish leads to a webinar, for example, via your social channels. So just want to have a quick talk about webinars because I did mention that in my marketing plan. I think they're a fantastic way to leverage your time and actually connect very closely with people who on the other side of the computer may seem quite distant to you, but they are seeing you actually, you know, speaking to an audience, and they're hearing and they're building trust, and they're really starting to understand how you can support them. So it's actually quite a high touch way to engage with your kind of cold leads, and it means that it can accelerate that marketing journey with them very swiftly. So the other thing about webinars too is afterwards they kind of create fabulous marketing assets that you can keep working behind the scenes of your website and so on while you continue on doing your compliance work or delivering your advisory work. So there's a long marketing tail off the back of a great webinar. Now at the Gap, we publish webinars frequently. I'm just going to quickly go to the portal and show you where we find those. So we pump out one a quarter, and basically in each of our webinars, there's everything you need to get au fait with the process of the admin side of running a webinar, but also all of the resources you need to deliver a seamless webinar experience. So all of the admin stuff, learning how to actually use the software, and then planning that webinar, and then all of our email marketing is ready to go via BOMA. So we recommend sending an initial email, a final marketing email, and a housekeeping email. And that's all via BOMA. Click the button, everything's in there, put your details, your registration link, change up the image, and you're ready to go. And we've also got everything right down to the webinar moderator script so that you can have one of your team support you in delivering that webinar. And then the PowerPoint template, which has a whole lot of inbuilt delivery notes and everything you need to literally practice once or twice and deliver a fantastic webinar that speaks around the topic of planning. It gives a lot of value away before you come in at the end with your beautiful business planning solution and actually state your price. And then in your exit survey, ask people if they're interested or if there's some other way you can help them. Now, one of the great things about a webinar too is you're giving value to everyone, and not everyone will go on and uptake that business planning service, for example, because perhaps it's not in their budget yet. But there are ways to engage people on no cost, low cost, and that, you know, premium service as well. And in the Gap, we like to think it's about continuing to give value after the webinar until they finally go, all right, I've had a lot of value. They clearly know what they're talking about. I want to work with them. I want them to be my accountant. So I'm going to show you one template here, which is down the bottom. Bear with me, this worksheet. And this is one of the worksheets, and we have them in all of our webinars, that we recommend you ask your attendees if they'd like to receive following the webinar. Comes with an inbuilt email. So you just select them from your client list, and they'll get an email with a link to complete a worksheet. Now this one speaks to all of the content and the things that are discussed in the webinar around redefining success, which this is our latest webinar. We're conscious of the fact that people really are rethinking what matters to them in their business at the moment. Perhaps in the past, clients have been really focused on making heaps of money to the point where they're not really available at home and they miss their kids, and actually turning that on their head. So COVID has definitely made people rethink, in some cases, what's important. So this is a great webinar that gets people thinking about how they can ensure their business plan delivers what they need for their personal goals and lifestyle goals, and no more, and that they're actually focusing more on some of those other freedoms like mind freedom and time freedom to do the things they love. So we're asking questions around, what does success look to them, getting them to actually think about how they feel they're living into that, talking about minimum viable sales and how they can get their business producing just enough for them to have the desired lifestyle they'd like, cash conversion, creating clarity in their business for their team and their clients, culture and flexibility, because that's pretty important in this day and age, and then asking them what they need to stop doing, continue doing, and start doing, and then positioning, accountability and support there is something you can potentially help with. So when they complete this worksheet, you're going to get a copy of that via the portal as well. And that's a great way to get deeper insights into what they're doing and how they're feeling, but also it's a good opportunity for you in a couple of weeks' time to give them a call, follow up, and see if perhaps they're now interested in that service. So just want to kind of close out really my piece on mastering the call to action. And I think this is a big reason why the GAP content in our platform works so well with the BOMA platform, because we've got the advisory services and the end game and the piece we know we need to deliver in the portal. It's been very easy for us to work with BOMA to reverse engineer those marketing content and articles and things in BOMA so that it's easy for accountants to kind of start with the right content that's going to get them the outcomes they're after. And I guess the main thing here is when you're using the BOMA content library, it's really well written, and we know it's educational and it's topical, and it's not salesy. And it's the same with the GAP webinars. It's very much about giving value and kind of positioning how you can help them stretch and take it further if that's what they're interested in. So it's not salesy at all, but it's about opening that conversation to the point where it's very natural and it becomes very easy to convert your clients and prospects to your advisory services. So briefly, you've probably seen the value ladder before, but I thought I'd just apply it to kind of the example I've given you here, because I think it reiterates the importance of marketing and the job that marketing does. So the value ladder speaks to, I guess, the length of your client relationship. And we know that the longer a client has been a client, the higher the value of that relationship, the higher trust level that they have with us, and the more likely they are to advocate us and to refer us business. So if we think about whether our clients are currently somewhere around here on the ladder, or whether they're prospects, if we work on our free resources and really getting those marketing channels activated, and giving value across those areas, then we're likely to be able to get people to come to a webinar or another kind of lead magnet opportunity. And if we well them at that point there, and that gives us then the opportunity to follow them up and give them some extra value, and they're going to take that and they're going to interact with that because they've already got so much value from the other things we've done. And then we can get to the point where business planning feels like a no-brainer to them. And beyond that, we can take it even further with some other needs-based or niche services of advisory nature or whatever. So I think the value ladder just demonstrates how we can take our existing clients to a higher level, further up the ladder, and get new ones, new prospective clients on the ladder. And so I guess, I don't know what else you'd like to add here, Charles, but for me, it's about getting better engagement and taking away that need to sell and letting our marketing do some of the selling for us in a very subtle way.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. And the nice thing about it, and I know sales is a dirty word for many accountants, but if you can construct your marketing activity in such a way that it delivers value and it's consistent and it's delivering, I suppose, things that often your clients didn't know they needed. I think that's a classic one, is sometimes your clients will be sitting there thinking, it's great, my accountant does it, my cash flow for me and a couple of other things. And then you're able to come along and using the content marketing that we've been talking about, especially in a webinar, and you talk about an aspect of their business that A, maybe they didn't know you delivered, but B, they didn't know that they needed. So it's kind of providing that surprise and delight. And that's really, I suppose, the benefit of marketing, is that you're able to, if you are consistent and you are constant, you're able to touch them a number of times. And you never know what, is it the first time you touch them? Is it the 5th or the 15th? That time when they say, great, I believe in what you're saying. The things that you've been saying recently are problems that I have, and you've demonstrated how you can come in and solve them and provide sort of a strategy to move forward. It's sort of like many things in life. You don't expect to succeed on the first try necessarily. You have to work at it, and it's very similar with your clients, just as they will tell you with their own businesses. You need to be consistent. Leveraging your time. So, the last 18 months has been an absolute roller coaster, and a lot of accountants that we spoke to in the early days, but I'm sure it's continued, said they just did not have the time, on the one hand, to support their clients, because a lot of them were doing phone calls, and on the other hand, still be providing the services that clients needed to get through the early days and then sort of longer days of the pandemic. Technology is the answer. So a webinar, an email system, or a system like BOMA, which does email and social, plus the GAP content, it just enables you to communicate one to many. And so, with a few minutes a day for your marketing, and maybe a little bit more of your time to sort of deliver a webinar campaign, you're able to, deliver all the things that we've been talking about, but it's going to be a minimal uptake on your time, so you can still provide the support that both your colleagues may require, but also your clients. And then just to finish off, as Nat said, when you have created this moment, this connection with your leads or clients, maybe it's as small as they have liked something on social or commented, right up to they have been in touch after webinar and said, God, that's amazing. Don't let it drop. These are as hot a leads as you can possibly get, and whether you sort of just take them through that nurture process a little bit more, or you feel like it's the right time to sort of start that conversation about the service that you can offer, don't put in all the hard work only to then not capitalize on it at the end.
Couldn't agree more. Cool. All right. So we've got a few questions. I think most of them are BOMA related. So if you would like to tackle those, Charles, and if anyone's got any questions for me about the GAP, please hit up that question pane.
Sure. So all of these questions are anonymous. If I didn't answer it, feel free to post again. So when posting the same post to various social media, is there a way to use different images for different channels? So yes, there is. In BOMA, as with most platforms, you would basically need to create the same campaign a number of different times. So you could create one campaign in Facebook, use the same content, and then just change the image. And then in BOMA, you could actually duplicate that campaign. And so you'd have the same content, and you could just then change the image and change the channel. So it's pretty easy. And we're very happy, if you are a user or if you want to come and have a go, to walk you through how that works. What's the best way to keep email list on BOMA synchronized to our CRM contact list? So great question. BOMA has an integration with Zapier, and the two first sort of elements of that are, first is that it enables you to synchronize to a CRM. So the best way to set that up is to give us send us an email, or if you're a user, open up the support tab, and we'll be able to actually walk you through the steps necessary to do that. The other integration with Zapier is that if you have a WordPress site, you can actually post some of the articles in BOMA directly as a blog post on your website. We are looking to expand that to other web providers in the future, but at the moment it's just It's just WordPress. If you don't have a WordPress site, but you still want to post some of the content, make sure that the content that you're looking to post gives you the rights to post it. I think you saw when Nat and I were in that content page, there was a small section on the right-hand side, and it basically specified where you could share it. So it's usually email and social as a given, and then some content will also give you the right to post it on your website. But do make sure that you have seen that before you do that. Actually, this one might be one for us both, Nat. What is the recommended frequency for sending out emails to our contacts? Is once a week too much? Is once a quarter too infrequent? What do you think?
Oh, it's a good question. I think it depends on whether you're going to blanket send one email to everyone, or whether you're going to segment your database, in which case, let's just assume that we're talking about how often we should send something to one person. So I think probably once a fortnight from an email perspective is pretty good. I don't think you need to do more than that. And I don't think it would be harmful if you did less than that either. What do you think?
Yeah, look, I think the key thing is to make the content relevant. So your comment about the segmentation was spot on. If you segment your audience in BOMA, so you say, right, I'm sending this, say, to all my tradies, all my professionals or my retail clients, then you could be really specific. There's nothing worse as a sort of a reader of emails, opening it up and saying, great, I've got another email from my accountant. It's got nothing to do with me. There's no relevance whatsoever. And I'm just going to stop opening all your emails. But if, once a week or once every couple of weeks, as Nat said, I'm sending something which is hyper relevant to me, that's great. That's fantastic. If I can use it in my business, if it's going to teach me something, if there's a policy or a regulatory change, or there are grants to do with COVID relief packages, which we have in BOMA, that's absolutely fantastic. And in that case, sometimes you might send 2 in 1 week just because 2 bits of important information have landed and you need to communicate this. Equally, once a quarter, if you're just sending out like a generic newsletter, once a month, once a quarter, that's okay too, because, a newsletter is going to be obviously touching on quite a few topics that you might be talking about. So you're trying to make it relevant to all your clients. And there'll also be some news about your firm, maybe some news about sort of some articles. The item I showed you in BOMA, where you can actually sort of get the content and just drag in the sort of the small sections, sort of pre-built versions, that's great for doing that, and it sort of really fast forwards it. So if you are taking content from your own website into BOMA using the link share, or content from the BOMA content library, you can sort of have those pre-formatted packages and just drag and drop. That actually links on to the next question, which is, can you create a newsletter in BOMA? And I think what this is really about is, can I use my own content in BOMA? And the answer is totally yes. So if you want to send out a newsletter or a social post using only your content, so it could be content from your website, it could be a video, it could be anything that you want to share with your users, you absolutely can. If you want to, by sort of in your newsletter, pop some content in from the content library, again, you can do that. And we've just talked about how you can do that. But yes, the content from BOMA and the GAP, it's quite specific. And while it's great, your clients will want to hear from you in your voice. So we highly recommend doing your own thing as well. And what we often see is that users in BOMA, they often spend about 60% of their time sending campaigns which are using content from the content library, including GLAP, and about 40% of their time sending social campaigns and email campaigns, which they've written mostly themselves.
Yeah, sounds good.
Cool. I think one last question was, is it possible to set up autoresponders in BOMA? I.e., if someone downloads a resource, can I send them a series of emails, day 1, day 2, day 3 after the download? So the sort of short answer is not at present. It's something that we've been looking at. We sort of go based on demand, and at the moment, not a lot of our users have has sort of asked us for that. So thanks very much. If you are a BOMA user, do send me an email or put that into the support ticket so we can sort of take a note of it and move it up the list. If someone does download a resource from the BOMA lead capture system, they'll immediately be given access to that resource. So at least, so you can automatically give them access to that resource, but you would need to then, I suppose the workaround is that you would tag them as having filled out a form, and then you could basically go through maybe once a week and say, great, everyone who downloaded this form and got this lead magnet, I'm going to email. And so it's a bit of a manual process, but you could work around it.
Awesome. Cool. So I guess, are there any further questions or any in the chat pane? No?
That was it.
Great. Alrighty, well, unless anyone jumps in, I'm going to take this opportunity to say thanks. Thanks for giving us your morning time. I know it's quite early over there, and it's great to have had you here, and hopefully you got some value from today's session. And obviously we'll be sending a recording and also the slides in case they're of benefit to you as well, and that resource if you're interested in that campaign plan. So that's it from me.
Yeah, likewise. Thank you everyone so much. Thanks, Nat, and we'll see you again next time.
Thanks, Charles. Thanks, guys.